I can't give you that. I can just make it worse by stressing you out. Alright, smartass. Jack grabbed me around the waist and slammed me onto the couch. Ooh, spicy. Even at 50. How many of them ended up down here? In the festering cesspool of death. He opened the book up to a fresh new page and started to sew the skin. He tossed it back into the pile and looked at the ceiling. Amigo. What will I do with you, my love? Amigo. I can feel my mouth regaining its movement. Hello my loves, I'm Degenerate, and welcome back to Till Death Do Us Part. Today we're going to be doing Jack. Let's see his warnings before we start. Gore, very high. That word, high. Horror, very high. Nudity, high. MC temperament, neutral. Last time it was abusive, so... individual warnings, on-screen character death, necrophilia, that's his whole thing. Insectophobia, maggots, cannibalism, non-consensual drug use, vomit, eye trauma. Oh yeah, this is the bitch that's featured in it as well, but we're not gonna do hers because I don't like her. But she's not considered on the list since it's not one of the three guys. Let's begin. Sometimes I can hear him in the morning. This is gonna be great. I love this ending. His fingers gracing the piano keys, waking me up early in the morning. Not that I minded. Yeah, we super love him. We're like, oh my god. You know? We went to sleep early, and my husband played music early. I leaned my back against the hallway wall that separated the kitchen and the living room. I could hear the haunting music float to my ears as I left out a soft sigh. You don't have to hide, you know. It wasn't, it's my house too. I heard a soft voice over the music. I know I don't. I could hear the music stop as I moved towards the dining room table and plates in hand. With plates in hand. My bad. I wanted to make him a surprise breakfast, but he always seemed to know where I was in the house. Jack moved behind me and put his hand on my hips, feeling my shape. Did I wake you? Jack's lips caressed my neck as he planted a kiss on my skin. I shook my head and leaned into his arms. He rubbed his hand down my stomach and rubbed his chin against my shoulder. It was mornings like this that reminded me of how good of a man he was to me. Get used to it. Just relish in it a little bit. It's gonna get so much better. He squeezed my torso and I sighed. I made breakfast. It's super good. My slightly sullen tone of my voice alerted him. He pulled away from my neck and looked me in the eye. What's wrong, Pookie? That was the problem with marrying someone like him, I suppose. There was no hiding feelings from a psychologist. Then again, maybe he was just very empathetic. I shook my head. I'm just having one of those mornings. You know. You know how it is. There's nothing wrong off the top of my head. I swatted him towards the chair. Jack tilted his head to the side like he was trying to read the look on my face. But I puffed up my cheeks. Sometimes if I made a face, he couldn't tell what I was thinking. Jack put his hand on my face, squishing my cheeks, letting out the air. Same thing. I know I said it wrong, but it's the same. I flailed a bit as he went to sit down. Maybe I was a brat to him. He was a bit older than me. A bit? Nigga's 50. But that's why I fell for those charms. Right. He gave us the line, "You're very mature for your age." What are you doing today? What are me doing today? What are we doing today? Yeah. Jack's eyes fell on the morning newspaper he'd brought in. I rubbed my chin. I should finish more of my novel. Ooh. I should get back on it, you know? I don't want to loaf around the house forever. Good idea. It's not good to get stuck in your own head for too long. Do you have a seminar today? He moved his fingers under his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. I knew he hated meetings, and a seminar where he had to speak in front of people wasn't high on his priority list. He would rather be teaching. I removed myself from my own breakfast and moved behind him. Put my hands on his shoulders this time and rubbed them. He was tense, but he leaned back into my touch. Can I just stay home? It's not like you to play hooky. I teased as he lifted my hand and kissed it. Maybe, he says. Jack looked at his food and started to eat as I took a seat across from him. I have something for you. Ooh. I perked my head and leaned it to the side. Really? He made a soft chuckling sound into his coffee. Did you forget our anniversary? Yes. I'm not disappointed. It's been a little stressful around here. He got up from his chair and went to the closet. Any one of those choices would have resulted in, like, you know, a positive reaction. He pulled out a box for me. It wasn't wrapped. He was never interested in making gifts more frivolous than they needed to be. I looked at the box. This was the laptop I wanted. I felt my heart skip a beat as I held the box close to my chest. He always remembered what I told him, down to things I only mentioned in passing. I pulled it to my chest and looked up at him. Thank you. I love it. I held out my hands. He leaned down and hugged me tight. Happy anniversary. I love you. Jack spoke softly into my ear. I better head out now. I grabbed his wrist and gripped it tightly. Do you have to go? He placed a heavy hand on my head and gently caressed my hair, feeling the fine threads through his fingers. Fine. As much as I'd like to say, I can't. Oh, stay. Whoopsies. I have to go to the seminar. You do that. His soft breath caressed my hair as I hugged him tightly. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. You just take the day to set up your computer for writing and relax. Jack pulled back, my arms feeling immediately empty in his absence. Okay. I agreed with him as he went to the front door. Jack looked at his car and back to me. I quickly trotted over and kissed him on the lips. Have a good day. I will. I want to read what you have going on too. Jack moved towards his car. I could feel my face reddening. I'm not done. I yelled. I could hear him chuckle under his breath, even from the driveway. Bye-bye. I watched the gray car move out of the driveway and down the street. I watched him drive away with bated breath and gripped my arm. Because that's how you say that. How could I think he was cheating on me? What? That's so random. Lately I've been noticing he is coming home later, and he didn't give me as much affection as he used to. Oh no. But this morning was so different and so familiar at the same time. It felt like the old times where he was just there for me. I looked at the laptop he had given me and sat down on the dining room table. At the dining room table with it. I poked the box and opened it up to take a peek inside. It really was the laptop I wanted. But did I really want to stay home and tinker with it all day? He said he was going to a seminar today. I wasn't sure how much of that I believed. I had my own car. I knew where he was going. One of the ritzy hotels in the city. I could just follow him. We're not doing that. We're staying our stupid ass home. Because I don't want to interact with Ellen. So no, I decided to stay home. There was no point in following him around. I didn't want to look like I didn't trust him. I wanted to believe my husband was a good person. I opened up my computer and started to type on it. The words spilling onto the screen. I watched my words fill up page after page. Sometimes I forgot to eat, but that wasn't unusual for me. I just got so caught up in my work. You little workaholic. I felt heavy hands on my shoulder that made me shoot up my chair. I screamed as I bounced out of my chair. I could feel my side hitting the floor. Damn. As I looked at my husband. You fell on the floor? What the fuck? Jack arched his eyebrow. Did you even move from this morning? Jack put his hand out for me. Put my hand in his, and he helped me up from the floor. I looked at the time, and it was 5 p.m. I rubbed my hands on my face and smiled behind them. Define move. I mean, eating and walking around the house. I rubbed my chin in pseudo-thought and put my hands on my hips. I shook my head and grinned at him. No. You're gonna give me colitis? Colitis. I can't give you that. I can just make it worse by stressing you out. Alright, smartass. Jack grabbed me around the waist and slammed me onto the couch. Ooh, spicy. Even at 50. I was always curious about how a man his age could be so fit, especially if I never see him work out. He's working out alright. Just wait. But I pushed the thought from my mind as he leaned over me. Are you ready for dinner? I straightened out his shirt. And he ran his hand through his hair. This guy. I'm gonna take a shower first. You do that. Make sure your bits are all clean. He removed himself from me. Okay, I'm just gonna clean up a little. I moved around the living room and cleaned up a bit while I heard the shower running. He better be scrubbing. Considering his interests? Yeah. You better scrub. The fuck? He stayed in for dinner, but he seemed distant but thoughtful. He was always thinking. I wasn't sure what was on his mind at the time, but I did enjoy his company. It was getting late and I went to bed with him. Cool. I could feel his arms around me as I slept. What was that noise? I rolled over in bed and rubbed my face. Gentle banging? Huh? The trees tapping on the window? No, it was huskier than that. Uh-oh. Something from inside the house. It is wanton. I opened my eyes and felt lonely. Put my hand down on the side of the bed where Jack would have been. Jack? I spoke gently into the darkness. No response. I looked around. My eyeball. There was nothing but the sound of that thumping. I stood up from my bed, just a little after 1. I could see a light on as I trotted down the stairs and looked at the bookcase. There's a door. It was moved and there was a door behind it. I wasn't sure how I had never seen it before, but I put my hand on the doorknob. This was wrong. Something felt off. I opened the door and the banging got louder. My breath started to come quickly as I took in one sharp breath. The putrid smell invaded my thoughts as I stepped onto the bottom step. Ooh. It was wet. It's not a good wet either. Sorry. Nothing gross happened yet. Almost. I think I might have to censor it too. I let out a gasp as I saw a young woman's face over Jack's shoulder. Was he? Nervous laughter. Nervous. I took a step back and slipped on the wet floor. Of course. Jack, are you? I screamed, but I stopped to look as he turned around. The woman wasn't moving. Dun, dun, dun. She's super dead right now, bruh. Her unblinking, lifeless eyes fixed on me. She wanted that, by the way. Like, literally, if you go to, like, see if he's cheating, you find them talking, and you have a whole conversation with her and everything. That's usually what leads to her route. But you could talk to her and then come back home. She wanted this, mind you. So, don't feel bad for her. Her blood spilled out from the gaping hole in her chest. How long was she dead? A couple hours. Cheating on you. Jack's voice snapped me from my thoughts. He looked at me. He looked at the woman and put his hand over her face. You watched his hand caress her skin. Jack's eyes burning with a passionate ache. I would say not. Perhaps that's just me. Would it really, though, be considered cheating? These toys have no life left to give, right? So is it cheating if it's with a toy? Right. I kept a terrified eye on him. I wasn't sure what I could do. I could run. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't allow me. Jack leaned down and pushed something into my neck. A needle. Sleep now, my love. And you will wake up a better person. You're so funny. I felt myself leaning against the wall and sliding down it. Darkness. A black swirling vortex. I would have rather stayed in my unconscious state than woken up in my own basement. The corpses of the dead littering the room in a ceremonious maybe way that made my stomach churn. How long were these down here? I felt my breath hitch up, but I couldn't move. Nothing on my body would move except my eyes and eyelids. My eyes quickly darted to my arms and legs. They remained unrestrained, and I looked back at Jack, my husband sitting across the room, something metal in his hands. He'd been watching me the whole time. That unusually comforting, quiet demeanor turned into a distressing silence. Why was he just watching me? You can't move, can you? I would assume so. He stood up and tapped the syringe. This was more effective than I thought. Cool. He moved to the desk and looked at the vial. You should be able to talk soon. Not that I need you to. Jack moved across the room and looked at me. I never thought you would be the one on my floor. Like this. He picked up my hand and rubbed his thumb across the top of my skin. He kissed my numb limb. I didn't feel anything but the gnawing disgust in my stomach. You were different, you know? Special. He reached over to a severed hand and looked at it. He pushed it against his face, and I watched in horror as he ran it down his skin, letting out an excited sigh. You weren't like the others. Ew. He put the hand down on my leg. Oh, and I just wanted to shake it off. What did Taylor say? I didn't want it on me. Yet he left it right there. He leaned in and rubbed my face with his hands. Ew. I wanted to keep you. Your body. Your mind. Everything needed to stay intact. My toys never stay long. Well, I would assume so. He clenched my face and growled angrily. Ooh. The alpha. I'd never seen this side of him before. The rot always takes them. Well, yeah. But there are more. Many more. Jack removed the severed hand from my leg. Dang, it wasn't already gone? He tossed it back into the pile and looked at the ceiling. What will I do with you, my love? Let me go. I can feel my mouth regaining its movement. It's there. I'm not reading that shit. We have to pick the bottom one, so please, I'll do what you want. How I wish I could believe you. That first one was crazy. Jack leaned into me. It was like, what the fuck? He sniffed my neck up to my hair. Why? I don't remember that option being there, that's all. He put his hands on my sides and I could feel the caking and drying blood on his palms on my skin. I was starting to get some of my sensation back, but I still couldn't move around too much. You still smell so alive. Is that good? No. Jack pushed me closer to the nearest pile of indiscernible body parts. I held my breath as long as I could, but I couldn't stop. The putrid air hit my nose. I started to cough and retch, the violent spasms hurting my chest. He put his hand on my head and caressed my hair. Shh, my darling. You'll be used to it soon enough. No. Jack moved away from me and went back to his desk. He rolled something under his finger, the glinting gold showing me that it was his wedding ring. Perhaps this was bound to happen. You've been perceptive in the past. He picked up the knife from the table and looked at it. Fate. No. He walked over to me, his knife in hand, and looked at me. There's no such thing as fate. He looked at my legs. That's so weird. Because my eyes are up here, buddy. He ran his hand on my skin and bit his bottom lip. You're so beautiful. I wasn't sure who he was talking to, me or my flesh. But he licked the tip of his knife and sunk it deep into my flesh. I let out a scream and Jack put a finger to his lips. Quiet now. Scream! I actually wasn't supposed to scream. Yeah, I didn't scream. I bit my bottom lip trying to ignore the searing pain in my leg as he stopped cutting me. He put the knife down next to him. He pressed his lips against the wound and licked the blood away from it. It's still warm. Yeah. He pulled away looking at the blood gushing out of my leg, just watching it flow out of me. Please stop this. I begged as he looked at me. Looked up at me. He shook his head and rubbed his fingers on my blood. He smeared it across my leg and leaned into me. I can't. Who knows how long I've been doing this now? Decades? Yikes. Decades. Yikes. He's 50 too. That's crazy. Jack ran his hand through my blood, rubbing up my thigh and between my legs. He closed his eyes and shuddered. My legs remained unmoving. I wonder. I better stop the bleeding. Jack muttered to himself as he moved across the room. He looked at some of the cloth he had and tilted his head to the side. I'm not used to this, you know. What? I don't take care of the dead, as you should be right now. Okay. Jack lifted my leg and ran his open palm against my skin. He looked at me as he wrapped my wound up, tightening it as much as he could to stop the flow of blood. He watched me for a moment, with that vacant look on his face. He was deep in thought. I could remember that look, but I was feeling rather faint. I leaned my head back, and my head hit something soft behind me. I couldn't think about what it was, just that I needed to rest for a moment. It was cold. I swear, it was probably like a body. Yikes. This guy is... You know, there was a searing pain to this freezing cold that I couldn't shake. Was I in water? Maybe I had died before I woke up. Maybe we're at the lake. Maybe we'll see Lawrence. Who knows? Was this what death felt like? Floating in water? We're definitely at the lake then. What the hell? I just needed to open my eyes. I wanted to know what was happening. I shifted. Or tried to. I was still numb. I just wanted to open my eyes. I could hear a soft thumping to my side. Open. I commanded my body as I shifted my eyes in my skull. My eyes slowly started to open. I felt a sigh of relief, then a cold sinking feeling. I wasn't dead. My body was submerged in ice cold water. Oh, never mind. But it was a nice, cute little reference. My limbs were almost blue. I shifted my eyes over to the side of me. We're about to find out why we're blue. Jack must have been in here still. I could feel my eyes widening as I watched him rocking against a torso without a head. This man is gross. Whatever orifice he could stick his dick into. Oh my god. Guess what we have to do, guys? We have to keep watching. He kept... That's awful. He kept his hands on the sides of the torso and rubbed his dick inside of it. Didn't move, or think, or feel. It was just another toy to him, and he looked like he was enjoying himself. The flushed look on his face, the sweat beating down his brow. Jack was so excited, and I wanted him to look at me like that. No, honey. We're not gonna do that. He wasn't bad at sex, but he never seemed to engage as he was with that body. That's so gross. Maybe true bliss for him came in the form of a motionless sex toy. I think it's a little more than that. It just happens to be a corpse. Bingo. I wasn't sure what I was thinking anymore, as I felt the blood move around my body to my pelvis. So you're in cold fucking water, right? Let's break this down a little bit. Yet you're still able to get hot for what you're seeing? I think we need psychological evaluation. Definitely. No way you're submerged in ice cold water, but you're still warm in the lower region. You're a different one, definitely. Maybe I just liked watching him get off on something. Something like this. Oh, you're awake. I am. You were making a lot of noise over there, buddy. He looked at me in the ice bath. He reached into the water and felt my limbs. He licked his lips as he moved his hand across my skin. I think this is a better feel for you. Uh-huh. We know. Well, maybe I could. He dragged me out of the metal basin I was sitting in and dropped me on the floor. My body sprawled out every which way as he flipped me over, easier to move just like the fresh ones. We got our answer. He submerged us in this water so it would feel like a corpse. Or at least close to one, I guess. I don't know. He muttered to himself. Ooh. Penis. But it's like dirty. Disgusting, man. I swear. Boy. He pushed my leg apart. Legs. I have two of them. I forgot. And I looked down at his maggot-covered... I cringed and shifted my eyes to him. Take a wild guess as to what's about to happen. Right. What is it? You've got like forbidden spaghetti all over your members, sir. I would suggest taking a shower before you do anything else. Please? Jack watched my eyes dart around. He must have noticed my panicked glances. Put it away, buddy. He looked at his own member and smiled inwardly. Whimper. Sorry. Look him in the eye. Those dead eyes. We're gonna look at him in the eye. Dang! Sanity went all the way down. Shit. I looked at him. I didn't care that he had maggots all over him. Maybe it would help him. You're stupid. Anyways, he lifted up my legs and spread me open. Yup. I wonder how it will feel. You're about to find out, buddy. What a mess. Yeah, clean up. He left me on the floor as he wiped himself off and tucked himself back into his pants. My turn, I guess. He looked at me sprawled on the ground and sighed. What am I gonna do with you, my love? Let's start with wiping me off, and then we'll talk later. He picked up some zip ties from his desk and tied my arms and legs together. Why, bro? I already can't move. He looked a bit concerned as he sat down in the corner again. It felt like an eternity before anyone moved or did anything. Maybe that's when I fell asleep or just faded into a listless state. I could hear Jack moving around the room and examining bodies. Pearl? I opened my eyes and watched him. He put his hands on the bodies as he hummed to himself. How could I preserve you for myself? Even Ellen here is going to be gone soon. He touched Ellen's body. He ran his fingers through her hair and leaned in. How can I make sure my beloved doesn't rot? Things were easier when I cared less. He pressed his forehead against the corpses. He whispered in cooed as he rubbed his hands against them. He pulled out his knife and looked at the edge. It was an expensive Japanese knife that I had gotten him a while back. Cool! That's like the only sort of cool thing that's happened so far. I thought we had lost it, but here it was. He pushed it against the body's flesh and started to rend the skin from the muscle. Okay. We gotta see all this shit happen too? Well, he looked at the skin and rubbed it against his face, leaving a red mark on his cheek. Soft. He slammed a book on the table and made me jump. It was heavy, but I couldn't take my eyes off of it. What was he doing down here all these years? He flipped through the books. He flipped through the pages, and I watched as countless lives and deaths were chronicled in one book. Oh. How many people has he killed? Not enough. How many of them ended up down here? In the festering cesspool of death. He opened the book up to a fresh new page and started to sew the skin. Sew the skin into the paper. His focus on gently keeping the skin on his book. He looked at it and pressed his fingers against the skin. If only she knew what he was doing with the, you know? He kissed it as he closed the book and shut it away again. Jack, what have you done? No. I couldn't help but ask myself as he got up. He didn't notice me awake this time as he walked up the stairs. This wasn't over, and I could feel myself gaining my movement back in my limbs. I started to crawl around on the floor trying to find something. Anything that would help me get out of these zip ties. I found nothing. What's that on the wall? Do you see that? 3 different blades. Get to work. Don't be stupid. I couldn't even help myself up to get the knife on the table that Jack had used. Oh my gosh. I just had to lay on the floor and hope for the inevitable. Death. Jack would return, and I didn't know what I could do. Scream. Sleep. Cry. We're gonna scream. I started to scream. At first, it was loud screaming, then I started to scream for Jack. You bastard, let me out of here, you f***ing psycho! Yeah, not even a couple minutes ago, we got hot and bothered over this man, right? Just giving it to a corpse. Just letting it have it. Right. I screamed. I wanted to scream until my throat got numb. Maybe someone would hear me. I doubted that. We lived too far from our neighbors. Convenient. But it didn't hurt to try. You're disgusting. Let me out of here. I screamed more. My voice was starting to feel raw as I heard the door opening. What's up, buddy? My eyes widened, and I looked at Jack, who looked unamused. Let me out of here, goddammit! I screamed in his face. He pulled the vial off the table and looked at it. You are very loud. He growled as he pulled out the syringe. I would assume that this was soundproof, but I guess not. I guess he wouldn't need soundproof. Since they're not alive. What are they gonna yell for? Nothing. Don't touch me with that. That's what we tell him not to touch us with. Right. A sterile syringe and not his maggot infested member. Right. We're like, you know? This is why I put YN for these types of games specifically. Because I'm never this stupid. I wouldn't be dumb enough to even get into a relationship in the first place. Look at how much we're avoiding by just being alone. I started to pull at the restraints and Jack pushed the needle into my arm. Now my arm. Silence. Yes, sir. Your wish is my command, I guess. I could feel the drug coursing through my veins. Super cool. Like that scene from Turbo. I thrashed around on the ground, but that just got my blood flowing. You dumb f. I was starting to feel tired faster. You fucker. I swore as I felt my head hit the cold pavement once again. How many times was he going to drug me? Enough! I wasn't sure, but if he wanted me to stay quiet, he would make it a point of drugging me more often. I smirked inwardly. Bastard. My eyes slowly closed, and my screams were silenced by the injection he gave me. I could hear something. Someone gently talking to themselves? Oh. A gentle scratching across the table. Opened my eyes and tried to twist my wrists. They were still zip-tied. Yeah. Thought they were gonna be unzip-tied. Maybe Jack didn't trust me walking around on my own like that. My eyes drifted up to him, and I watched him sit on his chair, his head down, scratching the knife against the table. Talking to himself. Talking to a severed head on the table beside him. Her striking blonde hairs scattered across the table. I knew who he was talking to. Ellen, please, we can't talk in front of my spouse like this. Nut job. He's crazy. I didn't do anything. I just like you better this way. You're still as intelligent as ever. It's becoming increasingly hard to focus now. Maybe there's too many people. Did I burn the bodies? Is it my spouse? Maybe they're making my head a chaotic flame of noise that I just can't drown out. Jack's eyes quickly shifted to me, and I wanted to close my eyes and pretend I didn't see anything, but I watched him get up. The knife against the table scratching against the desk. The sound reminded me of my morality. Whoa, buddy, what's going on? Why are you so shocked? He kneeled down in front of me and rubbed my face, his palm against my cheek. You're awake. Are you? Jack's voice came out conflicted. His usual cold and calculated demeanor shattered around him. Yes, I'm awake. Glare at him. Are you surprised? Never see it coming. Yes, I'm awake, dumb fuck. I was almost hoping you would have died in your sleep. This guy is fighting demons right now. Look at him. Look at his eyes. He is fighting demons. He's like, oh my god. Do I like corpses or do I like my wife? Ah! He can't choose. Nigga is conflicted. He's like, do I kill her? Or do I keep freezing her skin so that it feels like corpses? I don't know what to do. I'm so conflicted. That's him right now. We're gonna solve his problem later. Don't you worry, buddy. Just wait a couple minutes. We're almost there. Definitely. Jack gently twisted his finger in my hair. He felt the strand and sighed. It would have been a mercy. Falling asleep, dreaming about death instead of watching me kill you. Or, right? There's always an or. I could feel my breath quickening, and I tried to squirm away from him, but he grabbed my hair and held his knife to my neck. Don't leave, darling. We have much more to do. You're saying that like I can actually get up and walk out. I nodded my head quickly and laid still for him. He gently placed me back on the floor. Wait, are we sitting on a chair? It keeps saying that we're back on the floor as if we weren't already on the floor. He gently placed me back on the floor. That's just so weird. He looked at the table where he was scratching his knife and ran his fingers across the gouged surface. Why did you have to come down here? I heard thumping. Which turns out it wasn't a good thumping. Clearly. He watched his fingers move across the surface. He crossed his arms and we sat in the quiet. His quiet spells tore at my mind. Stay quiet, yell at him. Shut up. Thanks. I stayed quiet. I wanted to see what would happen next. I wanted to comply. I didn't want to upset him anymore. Jack looked at me as I stayed quiet, and his face stayed emotionless. He walked back to me and sat me up instead of letting me stay on the ground as he did. That's better. There has to be a way to preserve you. I don't know, you have to figure it out. Jack leaned his head on my legs, rubbing his face against them. I love the way you feel. He puts his hand on my thighs. And rubbed his hands against my skin. I shuddered and said nothing. He looked up at me and put his hands on my face. If only you understood. I don't think I want to understand. I think I'd rather die. I wanted to tell him that I understood him. Oh my god. It's almost like this thing just does the opposite of what I say. My mouth wouldn't let me speak. I just watched him quietly until he lifted his head and wandered off. Jack walked over to the corner of the room and opened a refrigerator. He put his hands on the contents inside and looked at me. I want to share something with you. He held up a bag of blood and my eyes widened. You can really get anything in that university. That's lovely. You stole donor blood? What are you, a vampire now? What is it? Let's inquire. Blood from one of my victims. He gripped down on the bag. It's almost like I can feel their pulse in the blood. Super cool. Not. This was their life and I took it from them. That's how that works. Look at my sanity, bro. It's so low. He rubbed his lips against the plastic and I watched him. Every move slow, deliberate, almost loving. He took a deep breath. Jack looked at the bag, then at me. I had an idea. He squeezed the bag over my head. I watched as the seam started to split and the blood sprayed all over me. Okay. Someone else's blood coating my body. We were about to get some sort of disease. The red liquid spilling all over the floor as I looked at my hands. My eyes widening, but I couldn't say anything or move. I shifted my eyes up to him and looked at the protrusion in his pants. I wasn't sure what I was seeing, but I felt his lips on mine as he pushed me hard against the wall, the blood not deterring his hungry kiss. He gripped my shoulders and kissed me deep, his tongue entering my mouth. The coppery blood filling my mouth. He gripped my shoulders, pushing his fingers into my skin and raked it into my flesh. Oh, and raking into my flesh with his nails. I hissed in pain as I felt my own blood dripping from me. Oh, it's all mixed up. Yeah, definitely getting a disease after this. Jack grabbed his knife and cut the zip ties from my ankles, positioning himself between my legs, and I looked up at him. The sensation was dizzying. Kick him off. Let him in. Not this time, buddy. You had your chance before. There's no second chances right now. I tried to kick him away from me. Get off. I screamed. He looked at me blankly. Why are you still talking? He pushed up a vial of whatever it was that he had been injecting me with and pushed the needle into it. I don't want you to move now. He pushed it into my neck. He opened his pants and his member sprung forward. Because it's that fucking big. He dropped me on the ground again, my head hitting the blood on the ground. I could imagine the fucking dunk. I looked at it as it moved away from me. Jack moved towards the table and rubbed a soft warm cloth on my face. pushing the blood from my face as I looked up at him. Thank you. You've freed me from the curse. He didn't say another word. He rubbed his palm against my face and let out a soft sigh once more. He propped me up again and cut my zip ties. Stay put. Nigga, you know I can't move. Jack held up the needle. I looked at it and shook my head. Please don't. I begged him and he looked at me with concern in his eyes. It'll be the last time. I'm so scared. He pushed the needle into my arm. I could feel the medicine filling my bloodstream as I went limp again. Do these doses not work? Like, damn. He just puts a little bit at a time? Like, just put the whole thing, bro. I'm tired of this. I don't like needles that much. As long as I don't look, it hurts less. Jack got up, looking at the tip of the needle and the mostly empty bottle of medicine. Jack looked at his clothes and closed his eyes. He walked away from me and I could hear the door shutting it behind him. I closed my eyes. Was it that drug that was making me so tired? I opened my eyes and looked around. What time is it? I didn't even know anymore. I tried to get up. My limbs were weary and tired, but I could get up. I took a deep breath and smelled myself. Ugh. Wait, smelled or smiled? Smiled to myself. Whoopsies. Now I could look around. I felt like I needed to talk, even just a little bit. I looked at the tools on the wall and sighed. I knew that he had used many of these. I mean, yeah, they're dirty. They all looked caked. They all were caked in blood. Yeah. I looked at the table and looked at the knife on it. If I couldn't get out, then I could just kill him. I bit my bottom lip. Was this the best idea? I could kill him, but he was also... I took a look around my room. Your room? The bodies, they were all from different people. That book he had. How long has he been doing this? Look at the book! I didn't pick up the knife. Don't you worry. It will be in my hands soon. I looked at the drawer. I wanted to know more about him. Oh, done. Sanity gone. It's over. I picked up the book and looked at the skins inside. They were rotting, turning into nothing but stains on the pages. Yikes, they melded. I couldn't bring my eyes away from it. Some of these were over 20 years old. Damn! Nigga's been doing this since he was 30. Pages upon pages of death. It was like watching a plane crash. Conveniently, a plane goes by. I couldn't look away. Was this the true extent of my husband's madness? And badness. Combination. I wondered if he knew what his own psychological state was. Right? Wouldn't a psychologist know? He must have. Jack just chose not to acknowledge it. Or get help. Right? I closed the book and slammed it back into the drawer. And we take the knife. I picked up the knife and looked at its sharp edge. Ooh, pretty. It would have to do for now. I couldn't just let him do this to me anymore. I'll end it. I grinned and pushed the knife under one of the corpses in the corner. Just in my reach. He'd come back here and I'd get to show him. My pretty knife. Kill Jack. Kill John Lennon. I listened to the door open and Jack walked down the stairs. I smiled as I heard the gentle thumping. He walked over to his desk, as he always did every morning, and I opened my eyes to look at him. He looked like he hadn't gotten much sleep for the last few days. I just wanted an advantage over him. I set my hand underneath the body near me and pulled out the knife that I had gotten from his desk before. I looked at the edge and slowly got up from my spot. The world would have been a better place without him anyways. He was a monster. I got behind him and jammed my knife into his neck without a word. I yanked his neck back to see the shock in his face. I narrowed my eyes and pushed harder as he gripped my arm. He coughed blood into my face, and I released his head and left my knife in his neck. I heard his head hit the table, and I sighed. I looked at his body and pushed him off the chair that he was sitting in. It's my chair now! I pulled the knife from his neck and ran my fingers down his neck. I'm sorry, Jack. You were always such a good-looking man. I leaned down to look at him more closely. That salt and pepper hair. Strong cheekbones. I bit my bottom lip. You're the perfect husband now. I muttered to myself as I leaned over him. I kissed him gently and rubbed my hands down his body. Perfect. We win! It was perfect. Now, I don't like the ending just because we also become a necrophiliac due to that. It's really mostly because we kill him. Because I dislike him. So I think he's actually the only one we can kill out of the men. But anyways, that was Jack. He has 2 like side stories. We're gonna do them right now. Whoa, it's Jack. He looks like Sano. Like, what the fuck? Look, I'm not sure if I want to do my dissertation on this police case. Doesn't it seem rather odd that the police haven't caught the guy? I don't really want to waste my time if I join their team and I couldn't even help find him. Jack groaned into his phone as he looked through his computer. There was something else on this case that they were missing. He looked at the picture on his desk and flipped it over. What? I do not remember this. Bro, I literally played this on a live stream. The Mark of Bilo? What? I did not know they were connected. Ooh, I'm stupid. Jack examined the circle sitting around the crime scene and took a deep breath. Bilo. Is that what they're calling you? Jack leaned back in his chair, looking at his notes on the case. I genuinely didn't know. Like, what? A light tapping came from his front door, and he looked over. What the hell would even bother him at this time of day? No one's home. Right. Jack called out bitterly. Oh. A soft feminine voice called from the other side of the door. Jack's eyes shot open. Call you back. Jack hung up his phone and put it in his back pocket. Jack opened the door and looked at the small woman in front of him. Are you Jack Butchinhan? Yes. She asked as he moved aside to let her in. He watched the gesture, unsure at first, and slipped in next to him. Yeah, who's asking? Oh, my name is Alice Carroll. I'm with the Metro PD. Jack's eyes shifted over her outfit, and he tilted his head to the side. Oh, I'm with forensics. Yep, I remember that. That didn't answer my question, but go on. I just wanted to talk to you about something. Jack leaned his back on the door and crossed his arms as he watched her. Then talk. I don't have time for formalities, Alice. He said her name with a sharp edge that made her cringe. I'm working on the... Alice's eyes drifted to his desk. Uh-oh. And she held up the photo of the mark on it, with the mark on it. This... What about it? Your chiefs have been talking to the police department and said you were the best at criminal psychology. I wanted to see if you could talk me into working with the police department. It wouldn't hurt, would it? It's a bit unorthodox for me to just barge in here, but we could really use your help with the case. Need young eyes on it and stuff. You're the same age as me, or so I assume. Are you going to be on the case? Jack pushed himself from the wall and approached Alice slowly. She nodded her head. Yep, this is only my second case. Sounds like you're not qualified for the job. I can do it. Alice leaned into Jack. Can you? Jack took a step back and narrowed his eyes. Was this woman challenging him? He put out his arms and put them on either side of her, cornering her. You could smell the strawberry shampoo in her hair. Was this a societal norm? He pondered as he looked up at him. As she looked up at him, with that innocent doe-eyed look on her face. Why isn't she pushing me off? Jack's mind raced as she looked down at his arm. Not disgust or rage, but with genuine curiosity. Is it a challenge? Jack felt her freeze up between his arms. A little one. Only if you're up for it, old man. She let out a giggle. Alice put her hand on his forearm. Her fingers were cold to the touch. Okay, we figured it out. Surprise. Jack bit his lower lip and moved his arm when she touched him. No, can't scare her off yet, Jack thought. Yeah, I can't tell her that like f***ing dead people. I would ruin this whole thing right now. He says in his head, like a f***ing idiot. Tell your boss I'll be there. Yay! Alice's face lit up, and she hugged him out of nowhere. Her blonde locks flooding all around her, catching the light with a soft red sheen. Jack watched her squeeze his midsection. Thanks, Jack. Thanks so much. I think you're going to be a big help. More than you realize, Jack tried to keep his poker face. I better go tell the others. I'm so excited to be working with a necrophiliac. Oh my gosh! Alice released him. She kissed his cheek and left a little pink mark where her lips were. I'm glad you'll be there. Alice bounced out of the room. See you later. She waved back at him. Jack blinked slowly and sat back down on his chair. Guess I'll be doing my dissertation on this case after all. He opened up his computer and rolled back his security footage, watching the blonde hug him again. Oh wow, he has cameras inside of his home. Alice. Oh, it's actually there. That's crazy. Jack leaned back in his chair one more time, looking at his ceiling. Can I corrupt that beautiful innocence of yours? All right. So he's already crazy. He muttered to himself. No, yeah, he was already crazy. I knew that though. Okay, that was him 25, it said. Family. Ah? This man had a whole family. What the fuck? What happened to these people? What the fuck? Anyways, well, that's obviously Jack. That's Alice, and then that's their fucking son, I guess. What? That's insane. He had a whole other family. I totally forgot. All I remember is that he's, you know, different up here. I didn't know that he had a family with her. Damn. When did we meet him? That's insane. But I'm glad I refreshed my memory, I guess. Anyways, that was Jack's route until death do us part. Quite interesting, of course, in and of itself. He's very odd. There's a lot of like live endings in this one. Really, it's just the other like good ending that I at least think is good is he just leaves. We don't kill him, which is womp womp, but he does leave us like in the house by ourselves at some point. We figure out the code to the door because there's a code for the door. Ends up being our birthday, of course. And then if we just, I think one of them is if we like pick that first dumb option, then he goes through with killing us or whatever. That's about it. So then there's one where you never find out the code. He is, you know. Next, we have to do this fuck ass. I do not like him. All his endings are live endings, but they're not good. None of them are good. As you can see, Marcus framed you. It's crazy. That route is crazy. But if you guys enjoyed this one, A like is very much appreciated, and of course subscribe, because I will do the other guy in due time. So with all of that being said, I will see you guys next time. Goodbye, my loves.